Welcome to Genesis Nation again. And I'm super, super stoked to have with me Dr. Jay Greenstein. And I don't even know where to start because the list is long as far as like explaining you. But where I want to start is just telling Genesis Nation, because we're here with Genesis Nation, talking about leveraging technology to create your dream practice. Your dream practice is whatever you want, whatever you listeners want your practice to be, whether it's whatever blend of treatments you're going to do, but we're going to talk about business and technology. That's what and this guy, if you have not heard of Dr. Jay Greenstein, just look him up, man. And we're going to put all the stuff underneath, but our history goes way far back, man.
It does, man. I'm glad that you brought that up because for Genesis Nation, this goes back around almost 30 years because yes. Brian, you were my CA when I first started my practice. It was, you and our buddy Tony, and yeah, I just can't believe time has flown. But man, we had some good times back then. We were rocking and rolling.
Yeah, and I remember meeting you at Bentley's at University of Maryland. My friend Tony was like, "Dude, you got to meet this chiropractor. He's awesome." And we hung out, we partied a little bit, and you were like, "Come work for me." And I think I was 19 or 20 years old, and that's like you're one of my early mentors, and this is really cool to see life coming full circle. And for those of you watching and enjoying, you're going to see us smiling because we just have a shuck and jive that we're going to work together. But really, we want to deliver some great information for you and content. So Jay is not only a chiropractor, he's a entrepreneur. I'm going to call you a tech maven, and I don't know if that's the right one, but you also have a brick and mortar chiropractic business. And if I could qualify you, I'm going to say you're on the bus and you are driving it in the right direction. You understand leadership and business. And let's start with Kaizenovate. Tell me, what does that mean?
So Kaizen is the Japanese word for continuous improvement. And the original word, Brian, that I created was Kaizenovation, which is continuous improvement through innovation. I put words together. I'm a geek. What can I say? But then people were having a hard time reading that word. They still kind of have a hard time with Kaizenovate, but they start to pick it up after a few times hearing it. So Kaizenovate is the verb of Kaizenovation. We Kaizenovate, right? Like we actually continuously improve by innovating. And so Kaizenovate is just all about innovation and continuous improvement.
Awesome. And I love that. That same old, there's that Japanese story of when the vase breaks, vase, whatever you call it, and you fill it with gold. So, I mean, that's, and in innovation, tell me about your failures, like, because we went through COVID.
Do we have 500 days? Because that would take a while.
We're gonna do a little bit, but if you could just touch on some of those things, because obviously innovation is a part of learning how to adapt during times. Now, maybe you could specifically talk about how you pivoted your brick and mortar businesses during COVID.
Sure. Well, first of all, failure is the greatest lesson that we can often have in life, and it's actually helped me become the person that I am. So I'm okay taking risks, and I don't love failure, but my goal is to always learn from it. So, one of the things that we really focused on during COVID, based on all the years of experience of having challenges and working to overcome them, was we were going to lead through this crisis. Like we were going to absolutely lead. We weren't going to be afraid. We'd been through tough times before, and we were not going to let this get in our way. So the primary goal for us was to take care of our own people. I needed to make sure that my team felt comfortable either being in the clinic and taking care of patients or not. And either decision was fine. And I was going to support them. Whether they wanted to do the vaccine or not, I was going to support them. Obviously we had, mandates around masks and things like that. But the primary thing that I was focused on was setting the right example and making sure that we're taking care of our people first. The second thing, obviously, was making sure that we could take good care of our patients. And in the spirit of innovation and technology, we immediately turned on the telehealth button. So we had already incorporated telehealth in our practice. We weren't really using it very much, maybe not even at all. Maybe we had a couple of consults here and there, but I knew, because I continued to do, and I was doing a lot of research around health tech at the time and for previous years. And I knew that telehealth was going to be something at some point. Yeah. And so literally we flipped a switch and we were able to start taking care of patients online. And chiropractors were probably like, what the F? Like, how do you how do you take care of a patient using telehealth? Well, you can do consultations, you can do ADL training, you can do exams, not hands-on exams, but you can certainly do range of motion, you could do functional screens. And when it comes to interventions, you can teach people how to foam roll, or use a lacrosse ball, or do stretches or exercises. So there's absolutely lots of things that we can do through the use of telehealth. And so whether they were coming into the clinic or whether we were taking care of them through telehealth, through virtual means, we wanted to make sure that we were taking care of our patients. And the third thing that we needed to take care of was our business. Like, I had to be on point, applying for every single grant that I could get, working with my CFO and our bankers to make sure that we got both rounds of PPP, making sure that we got the employee retention tax credits. Like, all of that stuff had to happen. So it was my people first, our patient second, the business third, and we actually, we led through COVID. And the great thing about it, Bri, is that we were able to innovate, right? So we decided when we were bringing people back, we could only have revenue producing people in the clinics. We couldn't have somebody sitting at the front desk and paying their hourly wage, because we at one point were down 80%. May 8th, 2020, we were down 80%. And I knew that if we needed people in the clinic, it had to be the doctor and a CA that could produce revenue.
Yeah.
When we started bringing more and more patients back, and we were getting busier and busier, and thank God we had, we got busy relatively quickly. I realized, and actually my director of operations, Kat, realized, like, what if we just never brought back a front desk person ever again? And it was an innovation that most people hear and they're like, what are you talking about? And we're like,
so like trying to like even conceive that as a former practice owner, I'm like, oh my God, that means I can get rid of my front desk and create profitable space.
Yes.
I mean, my front desk takes 400 square feet. It was a nice front desk, but.
And also, like, we've had some great front desk people, through the years, but we've also had, some people that just, even though, we thought they were going to be, in the right seat, doing the right work in the right way, it didn't always work out that way. And it was a frustrating position for us. And so we figured out how to eliminate the front desk position. We centralized all of our ops. All of my operations and marketing team are completely remote. Like, I've got people in Colorado, South Carolina, Virginia, I got them all over. And we were able to streamline, we were able to lean process. And that innovation really changed the trajectory and the profitability of our practices.
Awesome. Can you give me a little bit more, like dive into that a little deeper on how you're leveraging technology to, I mean, we talk about not getting rid of, but like, not having those employees and replacing them with technology, and every person in the working world is kind of scared of that. But
yeah,
what did you actually do?
Well, this is really more of a Genesis benefit than it is a Kaizenovate benefit. I mean, we can talk about how we drove adherence in just a little bit through the technology that we built. But if you're using Genesis the right way, you're able to create efficiencies. You've got great insight into your workflow based on the automated tasks that fire. And you've got great insights into your business because you can run reports and identify where you're succeeding and where you need to make tweaks in your business in order to improve efficiency and profitability. So we just leveraged the Genesis system, quite honestly, and we figured out ways that we could automate more tasks, and we could find ways to reduce actual non-profitable, non-valuable, non-revenue generating work. In the Lean Six Sigma space, it's called MUDA, it's called waste. And so we just eliminated the waste, those things that weren't really creating value. We've just been doing them for years and years and years. And we leveraged the Genesis task automation system in order to become more efficient, more effective, and more profitable. So during COVID and coming out of COVID, Genesis was huge for us, right? Like, I'm a raving fan. Most people who talk to me know that, but it really did make a huge difference for us. And, I'm happy to share what we've done with the app, going into COVID and also coming out of COVID as well.
Well, I'm gonna, I didn't ask you to talk about Genesis, and I know you're.
I know.
I appreciate it.
It's just a fact. It's just a fact.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna even. We're for those of you out there watching, we're gonna be doing some more live podcasts or interviews, so we'll dive more into the app then. Sure. Talk to me about tasks, right? Because I agree with you that tasks allow you to use the central concept of Genesis chiropractic software, which is single point management, but like, what kind of resistance did you potentially, and this is going to be important for other docs out there, because that we come up against that as the biggest resistance, like staff doesn't want to do tasks, or, so can you talk about that for a minute?
Man, it has been literally a game changer for us, like an absolute game changer. Like, to think that I used to have to manage people and their tasks like in person is just mind blowing to me. Like,
On sticky notes.
well, I never like sticky notes. We would do it a little bit more efficiently, I think, as it relates to just using our computer systems and stuff. But like, it was nothing compared to what we have now through the use of Genesis. I mean, our director of operations, she creates task workflows,
Yeah.
tasks fire. We look at the task manager console. People are either doing their work or they're not. And by the way, if they fake doing their work, they're off the bus, right? They don't keep their job. So people know that. We're very clear when it comes to hiring and recruiting and onboarding and training. So we've got really great people on our team, and they do their work and they manage their workflow based on tasks. You know, they don't have to run 10,000 reports to figure out what gets done next. When the task workflows are set up and they're set up correctly, all you got to do is go in and work your tasks. You know, if you're an owner of a business and you've got people that are pushing back because it's something new that you haven't implemented yet, know a few things. One, it's human nature. People don't like change. Two, if you can get them involved in the decision-making process, if you can not just tell them top down, this is what we're going to do, but if you can explain to them, like Simon Sinek in his great TED Talk, How Great Leaders Inspire, you start with why. So you sit down, you incorporate your other leaders on your team, have a conversation with the Genesis team so everybody understands how this is going to benefit them and the business and the patients and profitability and sustainability. It becomes like a no-brainer decision. So understand that humans don't like change. Make sure that you incorporate your team when making these types of decisions. You know, get their buy-in, get their feedback, work with the Genesis team, who's amazing. And when you get everybody on the same page, because everybody truly understands the why, how this is going to transform your business, again, it's a no-brainer, and it just is going to happen so much more easily, and it's going to have a dramatic impact so much faster.
I mean, those are gems right there. I want to drop the mic, but I don't have a mic. So, but that's,
and listen, you know, for Genesis Nation, for you guys that are operating this way, you guys know this is not news to you.
Right.
And for those of you that are not, like, I don't have to say this stuff. This is just facts. You know, this is just the way that it is. And, you know, one thing that I learned when we've been incorporating technology, and we've used platforms like years ago that nobody had even heard of. Now companies that have been bought by like SAP, like great tech companies, right? And we incorporated them into our practices. One of the mistakes that I made is I tried to modify what the true value proposition and true technology was built for, because I thought I knew better. I don't know better. Just use it the way that it's designed. Yeah. Because the people that have spent 10, 20 years building the platform, they will tell you, follow the process. When you follow the process, when you listen to the leaders on the Genesis team, you will get transformational results.
Now, how do you apply that same concept? We can pivot a little bit into your own app, if you can give us kind of an overview. And I really want to talk about RTM, remote therapeutic monitoring, as well. Is that considered the same thing? Like, that's under the telehealth umbrella, correct? Remote therapy.
It is under the digital health umbrella, but it's not exactly the same thing. So really quickly, I'll share the story of how we got started, which really incorporates the why. So in 2018, we rebranded our clinic system. We used to be called Sport and Spine Rehab. And when I created that name, there weren't any other practices called Sport and Spine Rehab. And, you know, 15, 18 years later, it was like everybody and their mother had sport, spine, or rehab in their name.
Yeah.
PTs, DCs, you know, MDs, whatever. If you study marketing and you study the greats like Seth Godin, or great business leaders like Michael Porter out of Harvard, they tell you that differentiation is the key. You want to be a purple cow. You've got to stand out. So I was getting tired of brand confusion. So we created our new practice name, Kaizo, not Kaizenovate. That's our technology company, Kaizo. Kaizo is the Japanese word for rebuild, reconstruct. So our tagline is rethink, rebuild, restart. We want people to rethink healthcare, obviously chiropractic. We want to rebuild people's bodies so that they can restart their lives. And in this process of rethinking and rebranding, I said to my team, I was like, look, guys, we can't just make this about a new logo and great new colors. Like we got to rethink our own business. And so we had lots of meetings around this. And one area that we saw the greatest opportunity was self-discharges. So we measure every single week the patients that complete their care, doctor discharges, and the patients that self-discharge, they don't complete their care. And we know because of Genesis, the reasons why. Like we put that in the Genesis system. We know this every single week. And our self-discharge rate was way too high. Like patients weren't completing their care. And the number one reason why people weren't completing their care, and I know docs, you know this, is because the patients feel better. Well, I'm a researcher as well. And here's what I know about the scientific evidence. One of the most accurate predictors of any future injury is past injury, because patients stop treating the problem when what goes away? The symptoms.
Yeah,
exactly. So we said, okay, well, what can we do about this, right? If we're rethinking our brand, what else can we do? And you know, my research team, because I've got a clinical research institute as well, we started doing research on like what drives better outcomes, what drives better adherence, not compliance. Compliance is telling somebody what to do. Adherence is shared decision-making. And so what drives better care plan adherence? And the answer that came up over and over and over again, Brian, was mobile health apps. It's what the literature showed. Randomized controlled trial, systematic review, meta-analysis, paper after paper, peer review paper after peer review paper. So we're like, okay, now what do we do? And so I'll never forget this. John, who was on our research team, he's a UVA grad, great kid. He's like, well, I can develop it. I was like, what? I was like, you never told me that you were a developer. He's like, yeah, I can develop it.
He's doing it like at midnight and 3 a.m.
Dude, I don't even know how he did it, but he just built it. And I was like, okay, man, go to town. So he built a prototype. We did human-centered design studies with our patients, which is like focus groups on steroids, because we want to make sure that we built something that people actually wanted to use. And then we launched. After 90 days, we went back and we ran all the data out of Genesis. And Genesis Nation, this is not a Genesis commercial. Again, these are just facts, right? I mean, like, knowing our self-discharges, because we've got the reports that we can run in Genesis. We can see the reasons why. So we ran the data on PVA. And here's what we found. We found that patients who downloaded the app, and this is after the first 90 days of all this cohort of patients completing their care plan. The patients who downloaded the app came in 36% more than those who did not. And I was like, I literally almost, Jason, you guys know Jason Barnes, he sent me the data. I sent it to my statistician to run the numbers. And when I got it back, I was like, oh my God, I almost fell out of my chair, bro. And because in research, and I've been doing research since chiropractic school, like you just never know. It's a box of chocolates. You just never know what you're going to get. So I was blown away. I reached out to a couple of really close friends of mine, Dr. Bibu Misra in Virginia. He's a leader at the UVCA, and Alan Sokoloff, chiropractor for the Baltimore Ravens, 2-time Super Bowl winning champ. And I was like, guys, I just told them the story. I was like, do you want us to build you an app just to see what other chiropractors might think? And they were like, yeah. Like I told them, so they were like, yeah, we'll build. So we built them an app, and then we just went on our merry way, right? All of a sudden, we started getting more customers. So that's great. And in January of 2021, we went back and looked at all of the data from 2019 and 2020, over 4,000 individual patients. We ran the data, and this is almost unbelievable, but again, the adherence was 36% better for the PVA was 36% better for those who used the app compared to those than those who did not. I know I'm rambling because I love this stuff, but I just want to share one really more important point. Yeah. I have a really good friend. His name is Brian Coleman out of Yale. He's a DC PhD. He actually published the first study ever on artificial intelligence and chiropractic care plans, and great paper. And he said to me, Jay, that's really cool. You know, good job. But I was like, what? He's like, people who download the app are already probably going to be more adherent to their care plan. If you have doctor discharge data and self-discharge data, and you could run the PVA for both of those cohorts, and you have a statistically significant difference in the self-discharge cohort, the people who are not necessarily going to be the most engaged, then you've got something. So I said, Jason, I called Jason. I was like, Jason, help me run this data. So we ran the data, sent it to Bob, who's our statistician out of the University of Toledo. So here's what we found. In the doctor discharge cohort, those patients who downloaded the app came in 10.5% more. Now, both groups, app users and non-app users, doctor discharge, that's really what we want for a good long-term outcome. But from a business use case, you're getting 10.5% more revenue,
Yep.
right? The self-discharge cohort was the shocker. So the self-discharge cohort that downloaded the app came in 70% more than those who did not. Yep. So, and then when we ran the revenue numbers, and we've published this study, when we ran the net revenue numbers, the revenue was 62% more in the self-discharge patient population that downloaded the app compared to those who did not. Now, why is it 62% and not 70? Because you ran the data in January of 2021. Some of those claims in late 2020 hadn't been paid. So that's the reason for the discrepancy. And the most important point here is that the number one screen that our patients are using, our patients and our customers' patients are using in the app, is the reward screen. That's how we drove adherence. We gamified the experience. Every time a patient came into the clinic, our clinic or our customer's clinic, they get a point. When they reach a certain number of points, they get an OIG, Office of the Inspector General. They get an OIG compliant reward. So we built a reward system that drove better adherence.
Don't go too far into gamification, because I want to save that for the next, because I want to dive into this.
There's a whole topic around that. Yeah.
So, because we're doing these as short-lived interviews, but we got a couple more coming up. And if you're not learning from this guy, you're not learning what's going on in the world, and not just chiropractic, but as far as business is concerned. And just hearing you talk about your business and using the word "we," I don't think I heard the word "why" in the last 25 minutes that we've been talking, or excuse me. So I just appreciate that. And you're the Kaizenovator, man. And I want to see that tattoo coming up on the forums.
Right? In Japanese.
Yes, definitely. In the right, that'd be badass, man.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Okay, so you have your first seminar coming up called Your Business Adjustment Summit. It is in Washington, D.C., and it's on May 6th. Coolest part about this seminar that I am excited about is that it's attend. This is like the framework that you created, and we didn't even discuss this, but attend it, then go home, maybe not Monday morning, but implement it over a period of time, and then have a follow-up with the 6 top-notch presenters to be able to say, okay, I implemented this, I made these mistakes, what do I do next? So brilliant concept. But if you want to just chat a little bit about it, you're going to be talking about leadership, marketing, revenue, retention, right? Did I already
you hit it all. The only one that you didn't hit on, which we're going to talk about too, is compliance. So I was thinking about this on the plane coming down. I'm actually in a hotel room, and one of the reasons why we did this, Brian, is because I speak all over the country, right? In fact, all over the world, because I'm speaking in Paris, and I've spoken other places as well. But people come up to me afterwards and they ask me like, "Hey, are you ever going to do your own event?" And I'm like, "Yeah, someday." And finally, my team and I, we were just like, "All right, let's just do this." I've got amazing friends who are incredible speakers and leaders. They have wisdom beyond my comprehension even. And we're like, let's get this dream team together and just make it happen. So we did. And I appreciate the fact that you understand that the important part about this is accountability. And we're going to help people be accountable to themselves and their businesses and their freedom by doing that 30-day follow-up. So you come to the event, you're going to learn. What you're going to learn should change your life. If not, I will literally give people their money back. Like, that's how confident I am. It's on record now. I will literally give you your money back. I have no issues with that at all, because all I want to do is create value and move our profession forward. But we're going to give people a workbook. So they'll be working on the business, not in the business. They're going to be working on the business that weekend. And then 30 days later, as they go to implement, they can write down their questions, their challenges, their successes that they can share with others, because we're going to have people in the room who are going to crush it over that next 30 days. And they're going to come and they're going to share with the rest of the group on how they were able to implement these ideas, these concepts, these strategies, these goals in order to move their practice to the next level. And again, you'll have all the speakers there for the follow-up sessions so that we can support the group. And so I'm like incredibly pumped about this.
Dude, I'm pumped too, because I'm going to be there.
It's crazy. I know. I'm super excited.
Yes, definitely. All right. So if you want to level up, Kaizenovate. That's it.
Right.
That's it. So we're going to put all the information down below in the box, in the chat box or whatever that's called.
Yep.
And so you'll have links to the seminar and everything. And please keep a watch out for our next interviews or podcasts. And dude, thank you for just driving the bus at the data-driven, patient-centric, Kaizenovating, ass-kicking way that you do.
Bro, I couldn't have said it better myself. Appreciate you, brother. You're the man.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.